Back? Okay, great. What's the last thing you guys heard me talking about? I don't know exactly when it disconnected. Sorry, that was a weird Streamlabs thing. My internet didn't go out, but like the thing disconnected. Sorry about that. West. Okay, so I was talking about the West publishing company that makes the Black's Law Dictionary. Anyway, what I was saying was this company puts it out. They do it for profit. Nonetheless, like I said, I don't know if you guys heard me say it, I'm sure the people who work on Black's Law Dictionary have a passion for the law, but nonetheless, it's published by a company that does so for profit, right? So the reason that there are multiple law dictionaries, that Webster's puts one out and the company that does Black's Law Dictionary puts one out, is because they're competing companies. That happens. You have people publishing similar books, but they're trying to say, mine is better, you should buy mine. That happens under capitalism. It's the same reason there are multiple encyclopedia sets, multiple normal dictionaries, multiple rhyming dictionaries. Like, there are all sorts of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, reference material. Like, you would think you'd only need one set of reference material, but nonetheless, we live in a capitalist society where different companies can create competing products better. Devious Chillster with 50 bits. Hi, Hannah. God, I feel for lawyers. As a psych person, we have to deal with all the time with homophobes and TERFs and whatnot going to past versions of the DSM in order to excuse their idiocy. It's baffling, yeah. The Illuma Rhombus didn't like the stream, so they turned it off with Rhombus magic. Competition in capitalism sounds like socialism. Funny. Anyway, so that's why there's multiple law dictionaries, bud.
That context to what I was saying, back to what I was saying regarding the statutes, there is a distinction in the statutes between two different entities. You can read it point blank in the statutes where they differentiate between one entity and another. So it's reasonable to assume that this could be, in fact, a corporation. What would be so strange about that?
No, he's talking about what I talked about earlier. The certain laws that apply to both the federal government and federal corporations. So it says, like, this applies to the United States and United States federal corporations. What's important there is the and. It's not saying that the United States is a United States corporation, because it isn't. They're saying this applies to the United States and federal corporations, which I already explained before we got the stream, cut off. That's a separate thing. Like the FDIC is a federal corporation. You can literally Google federal corporations, and Wikipedia has a page that's like, here's all the federal corporations that exist. Like, they're a thing, and some laws apply to them similarly enough to the United States as a governmental entity that the law will say things like, this applies to both the United States and United States federal corporations. The and there means they're different. Means they're different things. Conjunctions are fun. Conjunction, junction, what's your function?
In fact, I mean, of course, you'll never prove who the corporation is registered to, so to speak. As if you went out and registered a business corporation, you would register it with your state, and so on and so forth. Well, we can't prove who the United States is registered to, but why would it be unreasonable to assume that it is a corporation?
Because you have no evidence that it is! What would the benefit be to make the United States a corporation? And who specifically is the beneficiary of that change? Like, what would the purpose be? It's already a governmental entity. The government, ideally, is more powerful than corporations. So why would they demote themselves from the sovereign federal government to a corporation? That doesn't even make sense. Cooking up words and phrases and clauses. Yeah.
you ever entered a nearby village or town and have seen the signs incorporated in?
Oh my god, that doesn't mean they're a corporation. When a town comes together and becomes like whatever it might be, a town, a village, a whatever, that's called incorporation. That doesn't mean they're literally a corporation. Governmental entities also get incorporated.
1960.
This guy's smarter than lawyers, but he doesn't know basic definitions of words.
1936, whatever year, incorporated in, as in corporation. A town and a village is incorporated? Why would it be so outrageous to assume that
Hey, dummy, if this were supposed to be a secret, why would they put incorporated on the sign?
the United States is a corporation?
No, it's not.
Vehicle registration, an insurance card, or anything in which there is.
Marbret says, cities get charters from the state, and that event is called incorporation. Yep, it sure is.
Some type of implicit contract, verbal or nonverbal contract, in which the United States government can hold sway over them as a slave. Sovereigns believe in two different things. Each of us are two distinct individuals. We are our free man, which is our flesh and blood, our human aspect, and we're our straw man. And that straw man is...
Yeah, he's talking about the straw man thing. Sovereign citizens believe, or at least some of them, whenever I assume when I say sovereign citizens believe, just assume I mean many sovereign citizens, because there are all sorts of different sects that believe different specific things. But a lot of sovereign citizens believe in this so-called straw man. They, excuse me, believe that you, your physical, real world, flesh and blood self exists as a true person, and then there is a governmental straw man that is created the same day you are born. This is a, according to them, corporate fiction. It's basically a corporation with your name, and they think that when your name appears on governmental documents in all caps, it's not referring to you, the flesh and blood person. They're referring to the corporate fiction that is your straw man. Does that sound like a bunch of nonsense? Good, because that's what it is. The government doesn't need to have a straw man for laws to apply to you. For some reason, some of these sovereign citizens believe, like, oh, if they didn't have this straw man, then laws wouldn't apply to me. Like, that's not how it works. The laws apply to you because the government is sovereign, and the government has power over people within its purview, and you are a person in their purview if you're being charged with a crime. Like, it's ridiculously simple, and I don't understand why they believe this. Cascadia 93. When you get into conspiracy theories, there is almost zero levels of perfect overlap in ideals. That's what makes them so hard to group together and identify completely. Yeah, gets blurry for sure.
That corporate,
Okay.
if you will, to the United States corporate government.
Okay, so I'm going to bypass this. This is like a little cartoon that I think a lot of, quote, sovereign people are exposed to that explains the straw man.
We've watched it before.
Concept. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here because I don't think I have to. What on earth is the Social Security number for then?
For Social Security, it's in the name. It's in the name! So it's for your Social Security account. That's what it's for. And nowadays, it's also used, like, to identify you, usually for jobs. Your jobs will use that as, like, a tax identification number. That's not a straw man, you idiot. It's literally a number that's used to identify you, the human being. It's not some separate straw man entity. Like, it would be like saying any documentation of anything. Like, let's say I'm making a list. Like, I'm like, all right, we have a meeting of the Marvel comic books fan club. And I write a list of everyone who's in the club with their legal names. And then you go, that's not me. And I go, what? And you go, that's a straw man. I'm in the club, not that straw man you wrote on that piece of paper. And I go, you mean your name? Your name that I put down on this list so I know who's showing up to the meeting? It's a straw man! It's not me! You need to write the straw man to make your laws apply to me! What? We just wrote down your name so we can keep track of things. It's just your name. It's for identification purposes. I am a flesh and blood person. Your straw men do not apply to me, fascist. This is as stupid as these people. Like, it's literally like, it's your name. It's not some imaginary straw man entity. It's just your name and a number used to identify you in government systems. It's very simple.
Why are we assigned it? What I would love to see a video like this do, instead of come across as just...
Have you done videos on Richard McDonald? I don't think so. I don't know if I've heard of that person. Oh no, 2 hours. Is this like a whole seminar? I'll save this under Sovereign Citizens and we can watch it on a different stream. I made a Sovereign Citizen folder, didn't I? Yeah, Sovereign Citizen stuff.
An authority that sort of condescends to and mocks the sovereign folks. Why not instead bring out the law and show, no, this is not accurate, Mr. and Mrs. Sovereign Person. This is what the way things are. This is the way the law works.
They do in court all the time. It's explained, and they still are like, no, the way I believe is how it works. And if you're asking why they're not doing it in this video, it's because it's made for police who already understand that this sovereign citizen stuff is bullshit. So you don't need to preach to the choir on that one. Like, you guys have the burden of proof. Everyone in society already agrees that the laws are what they are. Like, even if you disagree with the law, you still recognize that it's the law, and you need to either follow it or follow it and try and change it through legal means. You have the burden of proof. If you think that the government is creating like fake straw men and it somehow is how they have authority over you, then you need to show that and explain that in such a way that provides the it meets your burden of proof, which you haven't done. Thank you to K Mutant Squirrel for following. Welcome to the stream.
You do not have these rights, or count. My point is counter whatever these sovereign people are saying. Counter it with law.
It has been time and time again, and you people refuse to accept that you're wrong because you're basically in a pseudo-law cult. That's why.
Show them in this all-powerful law how they are wrong. Prove them wrong.
It's been explained many times. I, jackass on the internet, not a lawyer, have also explained to you why it's wrong. And lawyers have better things to do with their time than to sit online and try and explain why sovereign citizens are wrong. At least most of the time. If you go to court, though, they'll explain to you why you're wrong. They'll get frustrated when you don't believe them, but nonetheless, they'll explain it as much as they can within the time allotted. Like, it would be like, how do I put this? Someone comes screaming into a room, and they are like, I just found out the moon is made of cheese! The moon is made of cheese! Wake up, sheeple! Like, I'm not under obligation to explain to that person why the moon isn't made of cheese. Like, that person's probably a little out there. They're clearly got their whatever. I'm not gonna deal with it, right? Same thing applies to sovereign citizens. No one is obligated to come and explain why the bullshit crazy thing you believe isn't true.
Wrong. I mean, I think that would be a fantastic way to handle this. Instead of just having a video that you're showing to police officers that the general public here on YouTube is seeing that...
It's for police. It doesn't matter that the general public is seeing it because it's not for the general public. It's for the police department. They put it on YouTube so the various departments can access it easily when they need to. They'll just type in the title of the video so they can go find it. It's on YouTube servers, so it's not going anywhere. They don't have to find some, like, outdated DVD or something that they're going to put into people's computers to show them the training video. It's just on there, and people can access it and show it to officers easily. That's why. If you see it, that's your business, but you're not the audience. You're not the intended audience for this video, and neither are we.
Paints a picture of people without really backing it up with anything more than, again, the condescension and the mockery about.
The funny thing is this video isn't even really mocking. It's just outright saying, hey, these are the things sovereign citizens believe. Expect this to come up in being a police officer. And they're right. They're right. That does happen. Like, they don't need to defend, like, the fact that the police have the ability to apply laws to people. That's already been shown. Like, you can't just be like, well, you need to prove to me that the police have jurisdiction over me. Great. Okay, go commit a crime. And see how it works out. I think that'll probably be proof for you.
Of what these people are doing. Use the law and show the public how these sovereign people are wrong. Show them how the Social Security number, for instance, is in fact part of being a man, so to speak.
What does that even mean? Your Social Security number is a number used to identify you, the individual, on things like your tax forms, and it's also used for the Social Security system. Like, what do you think it even means other than that? It's not some natural part of being a human being, but, like, neither are clothes and houses and pencils and cell phones. Like, there are a lot of things we use in society that are constructs of society. Your Social Security number is one. It's just an ID number to be used for various governmental purposes. I don't understand what you don't get about it. Do you think it's like magic? And you're like, ooh, what does this spooky magic number mean? It's literally an ID number. That's literally what it is. What do you not get? It's a number to easily track you in government systems. So like when they're looking up tax records, you put in the Social Security number for the person. Boop, there's their taxes for the last 30 years, you know? Like, what don't you get? I don't understand what you don't understand.
I mean, if
Don't bring up cell phones. This dude absolutely believes 5G will cause cancer. It wouldn't surprise me.
people are assigned a Social Security number, doesn't that have to, by definition, separate the man from the fiction? So
No! It's literally a number to track you. Like, what do you mean? Doesn't that necessarily, like, separate the fiction from the man? Man. No, it's an identification number for you. Why are you getting so, like, esoteric with it? It's literally, you need to think about this functionally, because that's what it is. It is a number that's applied to most of your governmental documents, so if they need to look you up, they can do so quickly and easily. It's utilitarian. It's not some, like, pseudo-philosophical, like, jurisprudence idea that you're like, oh, man, to apply... Wait, hold on. Oh, man, to apply laws to me, man. I'm a free man. Like, what right does a man have to stop another man? So in order to stop me, man, you gotta make like a number that represents a straw man. Like, no, that's not what any of this means. The law applies to you because you're a human being, and the laws apply to humans, and your Social Security number is a number to identify you, the flesh and blood person. No stoner stereotypes. I can do whatever stereotypes I want. I've partaken of the weed. Wind chanter, I feel personally attacked.
So to speak. I mean, the fiction has to interact somehow with the
Enjoy Spider-Verse, Miguar. It's an amazing movie if you haven't seen it. It's the best Spider-Man movie.
rest of the corporation, so to speak.
Like, imagine... I don't even know. I'm trying to think of an example. Like, let's say you went to a new job one day, and they give you an ID badge, and on it's like an employee ID number. Like, I don't know, 42601. Okay? Like, that's your number. And you're like, what's this number for? And they're like, oh, it's your employee ID number. It's so, like, when you scan your badge, or if, like, we need to look up something for you in the system, it's really easy. We just type it in, and then it pulls you up, and you're like, you're creating a corporate fiction that's separate from my own. And they're like, what? It's just an ID number. What don't you understand?
So, if you've ever been involved with the government, you know, I'll assume that most people haven't. What you'll find very readily is that their paperwork must adhere to these things. It must adhere to these corporate structures.
Not true.
You can't use the word man to refer to yourself, for instance.
What?
It's inapplicable. You can only use the word person or citizens.
I mean, legally, that's usually the nomenclature, so it applies more generally, because laws need to apply to both men and women and any living human being, even if you're non-binary. Wouldn't that be nice, though? Non-binary people out there committing crime, and you're like, ha-ha, the laws don't apply to me! Write your laws better, folks! Ha-ha! That'd be fun for them. Anyway, my point is the reason that laws and stuff and official documents say people or persons is so it applies, you know, generally. That's usually how it is in legal writing. It used to be, actually, a lot of laws used to be written with, like, man in the legal language. But of course, that's questionable, considering the laws don't only apply to men, so they started changing it, and now it says, like, persons. That's why.
These are the words that they use. Why would they use these words if they weren't relevant? This is a very...
They are relevant in the sense that, again, they need to apply to people very generally, and it's just typical in legal language to call someone, like, a person, because that's the, like, most general, safe way to refer to them.
Common sense, simple question.
Like, legal writing is typically very formal writing if you're, like, filing motions and stuff with the court. So, like, using terms like man or woman, like, literally, they might consider that too informal, and I know that sounds crazy, but, like, in legal language, you're going to be talking about, like, the individual, the person, the whatever. You need to be very, very clear with your speech. Like, so you need to use certain wording. You can't just be like, this man committed no crime. What man has the right to stop another man? That's not how legal writing works.
Now to go back, Black's Law Dictionary
Which edition?
versus Webster's Dictionary. We are all speaking common vernacular here. We all understand each other. But when you go into a courtroom, why would there be a different dictionary used altogether?
Because the law is complicated, and not only is it complicated because it's so complicated and because there are so many gray areas in the law, you need to be very concise with your speech. Excuse me. So, in a court of law, words have very specific definitions, and we're usually talking about legal writing, right? Not necessarily speaking, although it does help if you're speaking to, like, a judge. You want to be able to use the right vernacular and the right jargon. But, like, the reason you have a separate law dictionary is because in the law, words have narrower meanings than they do in colloquial speech. because under the law, you have to know what you're talking about from one case to another, from one person to another, and from one judge to another. So that's why you have separate law dictionaries from other dictionaries, because they need specific definitions of specific words. Not only that, but a lot of the stuff that's in the law isn't necessarily going to be one-to-one with what a normal dictionary means, you know? Like, why, if I'm buying, like, a Webster's regular dictionary, not a law dictionary, just like a regular dictionary, why do I need a bunch of legal jargon in the dictionary? Dictionaries are going to be a zero-sum game, right? They probably know we want this to be between this many pages and this many pages, so it's profitable to both print it, ship it, and sell it, and make a profit on it. So why are you going to put a bunch of legal jargon for people who 99% of them won't need it? You have a separate law dictionary that's an easy piece of reference material for lawyers or judges or whoever's going to use it. Like, I don't understand what you... I'm sure there are also, like, medical dictionaries. I'm sure there are dictionaries for various, like, high-level jobs, because they need reference material that's specific, concise, and applicable to their field. I don't get what you don't understand about that. And colloquial definitions of terms are going to be different than, like, legal definitions, once again, because colloquial definitions tend to be relatively broad, and legal definitions tend to be fairly narrow, because they need to make sure across the board everyone understands what laws mean when they are written. The Ender 92, take it easy, Hannah. Gonna play D&D now. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for coming to the stream. Enlid, yeah, usually legal terms are very specific. When I have to report on court matters, it's basically like translating, usually in court documents. Let's say it's about housing thing. It will say something like Metro Apartment Complex, henceforth the company. Yeah, you gotta be very specific with what you're talking about. Peer Squire, I'm in IT. Words can mean different things in different contexts. You don't think those websites are actually giving you cookies, right? Aw, I wanted cookies. That's a shame.
Called the Black's Law Dictionary. Mine happens to be exactly 14 pages larger than what my Webster's dictionary.
Okay.
Why would there be two different dictionaries? How can...
Because they're made by private printing companies that sell them for profit. Like, you might as well ask, why are there more than one dictionary in the world? Because private companies make them for a profit, and they're going to include slightly different content, right? I think that's pretty simple. Why is there more than one company that makes an atlas? Don't they all have maps? Like, yeah, but they're different, and some people might have preferences between the ways the companies do certain things. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I can't tell you, like, if someone prefers Black's Law over Webster's. I have no idea. I don't know which one's the more popular. Nonetheless, they both exist. Like, they're just made by private companies, and different people are going to have different ones they want to buy. Or maybe they'll buy both. I don't know. Oops.
that not be proof positive that of course there's two different languages being spoken?
It's not a different language. Have you not heard the term jargon before? There's such a thing as legal jargon. There's such a thing as medical jargon. There's such a thing as mechanic jargon. If you're in any field that has to deal with problems that are different than problems that people deal with on a daily basis who aren't in that field, you probably deal with jargon. Jargon is just like words and phrases that mean things within your field of work that might not be understood by people who don't work within that field. That's a thing. The law is complicated. The law needs to be written in such a way that everyone in the legal field can understand it. So specific words take on specific meanings in a legal context that they might not in a colloquial world context.
Well, we're speaking here in the courtroom, you use this dictionary called Black's Law. When we're outside the courtroom, we use this one called Webster's.
Yes, because one is for a specific profession and one is for the general public, right? That's very easy to understand.
I'm asking people who make these videos and who want to preach to the public that sovereigns are lunatics, of which many of them are,
including you,
why they're lunatics. Use your
because you believe complete nonsense and then back it up with pseudo-law, pseudo-philosophy BS.
law and prove that they are. Another part is coming soon. Thanks for watching.
Okay, let's see what the next part is. Hopefully he needs to get a pop filter.
Tools of capitalism.
Watch that one. Sovereign Citizen Training Part 3 and 4. We can do this, folks. We got this. KM Mutant Squirrel, thanks for subscribing.
So this is part
What's up with the bodybuilders? I don't know. Maybe he's just into it. That's fine.
3 in my series, video response to the Sovereign
At least the high-pitched, like, stopped. That's nice.
Citizen Training for Law Enforcement video. Want to try to wrap this up. It'd be nice if I could finish it in this one last video, but it might take me another 2 or 3 maximum, I hope. There's a lot to cover here. The point of this video response series is to point out what this video by the Florida sheriffs is teaching, apparently, to sheriffs, and then what they're telling the YouTube viewers that is loaded with a lot of assumption and misinterpretations and bias and prejudice. Now, I'm not a sovereign citizen, but
I'm not a sovereign citizen. I just made a 4-part, 40-minute series on why you should really stop picking on sovereign citizens, guys. Actually, they have a lot of good points.
I used to associate with people who were into this stuff, so I just wanted to point out some of the things that are being discussed and what is reasonable about them and what I think people should be considering. So we'll continue with the video.
I am
Then
created
shush,
by the
shush.
living. Tell me to shut up. I am the living natural man, and my voice will be heard.
They will ask
Cameo by the living man.
you, what is the reason for stopping me?
I'm asking you, what am I being pulled over for? What am I being stopped for? Am I being detained?
I am traveling, I am not driving, I do not have to provide a driver's license because I am a sovereign.
All right, Stacey, do you have a license on you?
I do not submit to unlawful inquiry, sir.
Okay, so you don't have a driver's license?
I have a right to travel unencumbered freely.
You do not have jurisdiction
Traveling. They said the thing.
over me.
There's nothing funny about the tools of
The cops are biased against a group they perceive as hostile. I'm shocked. I tell you, utterly and totally shocked.
Are you a peace officer or a police officer? There's a difference in the sovereign rhetoric.
I also need...
Okay, so there's a difference in the sovereign
Use of the word rhetoric instead of referring to the words used as words. Yeah, because it's rhetoric. It's rhetoric, you guys. Like, parrot to each other, and then you parrot it to the cops.
rhetoric. Just by using those words, what he's doing is he's creating an instant bias.
Dude, the reason he's using rhetoric is because it's rhetoric.
About the nature of what these people are doing. Now, what a lot of these people are
This guy's just super mad the cops don't take sovereign citizens
There's
seriously.
nothing funny about the
Like,
tools
dude,
of
have you
capitalism.
considered the reason they don't take sovereign citizens seriously is because you're wrong? I hate to share this, and severe trigger warning, violence, language, distress, child. I probably can't click on that. If it's, like, enough that you're putting a trigger warning, violence, language, distress, child, I can't click on that for TOS reasons.
doing with the quote traveling stuff is a little bit of lunacy. If you study the law long and hard enough, as I have spent a good over 10 years entrenched in this stuff.
Meaning, when he goes poo-poo on the toilet, he reads Black's Law Dictionary and thinks that makes him smarter than a lawyer.
Including some college law classes as well. These are, what is wrong with asking these questions? I mean, do we have the right to move about? Or let's put it this way. Why would there be this focus in the video about the words being used unless it was relevant?
Because they're trying to say, like, hey, if you see people who say these specific things, if they talk about, oh, I'm not driving, I'm traveling, then you can assume they're a sovereign citizen, even if they don't say that specifically. That's the point.
quote sovereign people want to use these words such as travel as compared to operating a motor vehicle, say. Well, anyone knows if you've been in traffic court and you've been in there enough that these words are meaningful. They do mean two different things.
No, they don't. If you are traveling in a vehicle that you are operating, you are driving. If you are driving a car, you're driving a car. I know that's a mind-bending thought, but there it is.
So what I'm trying to understand is why would they be teaching both the sheriffs and the YouTube viewers that this is rhetoric?
Because it is. Because that's factually true.
Why are these questions not valid ones? And why aren't they simply answered? Okay, so we know that the driver's license, just look in Black's Law Dictionary.
Here we go.
Licensing is a form of government permission. So why do we need permission from the government in order to move ourselves about?
No, no, no. You don't need permission to move yourself about. You need permission to operate a vehicle on public roads, which are built and maintained by the government. They get to decide who's on those roads. If you want to drive a car, an unregistered car with no license on your own property, you're allowed to do that. You can drive drunk on your property. No one can stop you. That's not illegal. I don't think you should do it. I think that's unsafe. But I'm just illustrating a point that on your own private property, you have leeway to do whatever you want in your vehicle. But when you try and take it out on public roadways, you need to follow the law. And the law is, in every state in this country, you need a valid driver's license. That's to ensure that you know how to operate that vehicle safely. Okay? Pretty simple.
Through these mechanical means of locomotion.
A car. You're thinking of the word car. Sorry, I know that's probably difficult. You're thinking of car. You're thinking of driving a car.
That the law calls vehicles and automobiles.
That the law calls vehicles and automobiles. Again, like you were literally just asking, like, why do we need two different dictionaries for law and for, like, colloquial speech? And now you're like, actually, my car isn't a car, just so you know. Kind of hypocritical, don't you think?
I mean, they will never use other terms. Why won't they use other terms? Isn't the fact that they insist on using these specific words, doesn't that mean something?
In the law, they're probably going to call it a motor vehicle because that's official language. It doesn't change the fact that colloquially the cop will be like, did you know how fast you were driving? And I've seen sovereign citizen videos where they're like, I'm not driving, I'm traveling, which is a lie. You're traveling by driving a car. Then the cop will be like, okay, why were you traveling in your car at that speed or whatever it happens to be? Like, cops won't specifically call it like, why are you operating this motor vehicle? They might start like that because it's a more official way of speaking and they're trying to operate, you know, in their capacity as an officer of the law. But nonetheless, I've heard plenty of cops in these videos be like, hey man, we're gonna have to tow your car, or like whatever. They'll call it your car, because that's what it is. It's called a car. Everyone knows your car is a car. And when you operate a car, do you know what it's called? Driving.
Now, I've been in court before where I watched a kid that I didn't know who actually had an attorney, which is rare for these kinds of challenges. The attorney was saying, well, we have seen no evidence that my client was involved in operating a motor vehicle. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. This was in front of a packed courtroom, too. So what the judge did, as they so often do, is, okay, yeah, we're going to adjourn this. You know, and that's just the typical, it uses up extra tax dollars to adjourn it and carry it over.
Presumably, I don't know what the specifics of this case are because he's not saying. But let's say they're actually, whatever this infraction was, they actually didn't have evidence, the prosecution didn't have evidence that they were operating their vehicle, their car. Then they're going to adjourn, so they can get their evidence together and make sure that they have it. Like, what? Again, I need more specifics of the case.
What should have happened, I think according to the way most people would see this, instead of wasting tax dollars, is to answer the question. You know, where is the evidence on the side of the government, the prosecutor, that proves he was, quote...
Either that, or there actually was obvious evidence, like the police are like, hey, we stopped him, he was driving a car, and the lawyer was being an insane person.
Operating a motor vehicle. Now, people always just answer an officer or a court when they're asked, were you operating a motor vehicle?
Yes, because you should answer the court honestly. I think that's pretty clear. You should probably answer the court's questions as honestly as you can. If you're going to self-incriminate, I get it. You have the Fifth Amendment right to stay silent and not self-incriminate. I can respect that. I totally understand that. But, like, if they're asking you a basic question, like you were speeding and they're like, were you operating your car or your motor vehicle or whatever they say, you should say yes if you were.
Well, yeah, I was, because these are what they consider to be, the person standing in the courtroom, to be common vernacular. They don't understand that operating a motor vehicle has specific legal nexus.
Colloquially, we call it driving. We call it driving. Like, if you say, I was not operating a motor vehicle, I was traveling in my motor vehicle, or whatever you want to say, that's a lie. That's a lie, because you know what they mean by operating a motor vehicle. If you're operating a motor vehicle, you're driving. Colloquially, we call that driving. You can't just be like, oh, if I call it something else, then it's not that. No, you idiot. That's not what's happening. That's a lie. You're lying to the court. That's perjury. You know what they mean. They use official legal language. But when you're translating that to colloquial, like person-to-person speech, operating a motor vehicle's driving. It's not complicated. Stop perjuring yourself to the court.
Very specific. This isn't conspiracy theory. This isn't conjecture.
It literally is. It is literally both of those things.
Simply get yourself a Black's Law Dictionary and look at what the meanings of these words are.
And when he says get yourself a Black's Law Dictionary, he means the version from 1930 that says, oh, operating a motor vehicle is being employed in the... driving is being employed in the process of operating a motor vehicle. They take that word employed and they're idiots, so they think the word employed always implies you're being paid to do something, without the understanding that the word employed also just means, like, you're in the process of doing an activity. So they're like, I wasn't being paid to drive this car, so I wasn't actually driving. That's not what that means. First of all, even when that edition was written, Black's Law Dictionary from the 1930s, that's not what that meant. Being employed in the process of operating a motor vehicle does not mean you have to be paid to be operating a motor vehicle in order for it to be driving. It just means you are in the process of driving a motor vehicle. Secondly, that was like edition 3 of Black's Law Dictionary. We're on edition 11 now, and guess what? The definition isn't the same. It doesn't use the word employed at all, because that's not what the law means. Ugh. Very frustrating.
Look at the meaning of the word license, the government permission. I could go off on a tangent and talk about the Second Amendment with guns, getting a handgun permit. What is a permit? It is short for permission.
Have you ever actually read the Second Amendment? A well-regulated militia. The government not only has the power to, but the responsibility to regulate firearms. It's in the Second Amendment. Maybe actually read it.
The word even sounds similar. Permission, permit. It's government saying, we are permitting you to do this. No, you don't have a Second Amendment right to go out and get a handgun, but we will give you permission.
The Constitution doesn't say you have a Second Amendment right to a handgun. It says you have the right to bear arms. which is very vague and has been interpreted many ways by many different courts depending on the state. Again, well regulated, the government not only can regulate firearms, but they have the responsibility to do so.
To if we deem you worthy. These are the kind of things I'm talking about that these sovereign folks are involved in. What is so wrong with asking these questions, and why won't the government ever answer them? You will rarely get a cop, a prosecutor, or a judge who will touch these things. Ask yourself.
Because they're very busy. No one has time for your sovereign citizen nonsense. Again, it would be like... Well, I can't even think of a good metaphor. Like, let's say I'm working at a restaurant, and there's a customer, and they come up to the counter, and they start banging on the counter, and they go, "Are your hamburgers made of poodle meat?" And we go, "No. No, they're not." And you go, "Prove to me they're not made of poodle meat. Bring me back there and prove to me that your meat is not poodle meat." And you go, "It's not, though. It's dinner rush. We're making food for people. Can you go away?" And you go, "Ha! You can't even prove to me your meat's not made of poodles." Checkmate. Like, no one is required to answer to your ridiculous assertions that are wasting everyone's time. No one can be forced to entertain this stupidity.
Why? And what I'm asking is, why doesn't everyone ask why? So let's continue.
If you're a constitutional common law peace officer, or are you a police officer? Because there is a difference.
Some sovereigns will ask you to fill out paperwork explaining your jurisdiction over them. Some will be arguing.
I haven't seen that one yet. I haven't seen one be like, "Fill out this paperwork and explain how you have jurisdiction over me." I believe it's happened, but I've just never seen that one.
Argumentative, but the argument that you will get most is that you have, as a law enforcement officer, you have no jurisdiction over them. And they will constantly repeat that. Their objective is to confuse you. You don't know their level of commitment. If they are providing this information in order to confuse you or in order to distract you to the point where they can take advantage of you and assault you or kill you.
I think that's to go it too far. I do think that's like a police training thing. Like, in every situation where things aren't going our way, just assume they're gonna murder you. Like, whoa, guys, whoa. Sovereign citizens are jackasses, but most of them aren't gonna murder you. Like, de-escalate, guys. Hold up.
Now, I have watched this video before, and I don't even remember that part, and I am absolutely appalled that they would suggest such a thing.
I agree. I actually agree on that one. Acting like anyone who's being an idiot during a traffic stop is like a step away from murdering you is ridiculous, and it's a huge part of the problem of policing in this country, that they're constantly considering every single citizen they come up against as the enemy. Like, that's a huge problem. That's so screwed up.
It is 100% patently untrue. All of the people that I associated with have zero interest in not only confusing a police officer, they have zero interest in hurting anyone. This is really disgusting, absolutely disgusting representation of what these people are about. Are there some that might act like this in the sovereign movement? Yes. There is a certain percentage that are lunatics. They're not what most of them are about. Most of them are just good people who've been abused by the government at some point and fought back, as is every American's duty to keep your government under control. Government is not supposed to be the big brother and dictating a dictatorship.
I agree. The problem is, you consider having a driver's license and paying taxes to be big brother, and it's not. Welcome to adulthood, where a functional government is important to maintain a civil society. Ugh.
we're supposed to be ever vigilant, and which we have not been at all. So all these people are doing, for the most part, now I'm speaking from a lot of experience associating with these people. They're asking questions because they believe this, quote, sovereign believes that he does have a right to freedom. These are all freedom-oriented subjects. Freedom to move about in their cars without...
You do not have the freedom to operate on public roads without a license. Like, did you think the roads just grew naturally? Like, if roads just appeared one day, I'd agree with you if they just were a naturally occurring thing, but they're not. The government builds the roads with tax dollars, and as such, as a stand-in for society, they're allowed to require licensure to operate your vehicle on public roads to keep safety for the other people on the road. That's the case. I agree. On your own property, do whatever you want with your car. I don't care. You're not endangering anyone except yourself on your own property or anyone else who's around. But if you hurt them, your homeowner's insurance is going to have to deal with that. On public roads, you have to follow public laws. And one of the laws is that you need a license. It's pretty simple.
Having the government's permission through a license, or being pulled over for gliding through a stop sign or going a little bit too fast.
Insert. Hey, you know what? That's a quick enough clip. I can probably do that. Hold on.
Stop breaking the law, asshole!
You know what problem I've never had? Like, with the police pulling me over for going through stop signs without stopping or doing a bunch of other traffic infractions. You know why? Because I follow traffic laws. That's the... Pretty simple. Just do the laws. Follow them. Don't break them. You're fine.
According to what their rules are, their rule, keyword rule is, as many sovereigns would say. Keep in mind, John Stossel did a whole report on other countries that don't have hardly any traffic law and have...
NLID. At the 2016 Libertarian Convention, Gary Johnson was booed for saying it's reasonable for people to have licenses to drive to show they can operate a vehicle safely. Oh yeah, libertarians are cuckoo bananas. Libertarians are nuts. They're like, all laws are I'm being trodden upon by the government because literally any law exists. Like, they're nutbags. And I'm sure there are libertarians who aren't like that. I'm just saying, like, the kind of people who go to a libertarian convention, oh yeah, they're crazy. Remember that time there was someone stripped at the libertarian convention? Like, a dude started taking off his clothes. And everyone was like, yay! And then half the people were like, oh, this is embarrassing. Frankly, it's not that embarrassing. You're already at a libertarian convention. Of course you're embarrassing.
Have lower accident rates. So this, safety garbage about traffic laws...
Libertarianism is like... How do I put this? And I'm not talking... I understand, like, not wanting light touch of government. I'm talking, like... hardcore libertarians who believe, like, all government is bad. That's who I'm talking about. Like, literally, it's the belief system of, like, a 15-year-old who just learned about, like, the world and barely understands it, and they're like, well, everything would be solved if everyone just got to do whatever they wanted, right? As if there aren't other forces, like, in society that would work to persecute people if the government didn't stop them. Like, it's just childish. Like, when I was, like, 16, was a libertarian. Like, I'm just letting you know. Like, it's something young people get into because they don't understand how the world functions. And they think, like, well, if people just get to do what they want, I'm sure it'll work out. Like, no. Nope. No, it won't. You need to stop trusting people so much. People are awful.
A bunch of BS. Does that mean I'm against drunk driving tickets or something? Of course not. I'm 100% pro tickets for that. I'm 100% pro traffic law. But when no one is hurt or damaged or injured in any way, and the government...
The entire purpose of having a license is to ensure to the government, which is a stand-in for the general population in this case, is to show them that I have the ability to drive safely. Like, I don't care even if you can, but you don't have a license. That's not the point. We have a standard that we've set for everyone in society, and you're not special. You don't get to not take the test just because you think you're a little special person who doesn't have to follow laws like everyone else. No, you need to. And there are repercussions for that.
Government comes in. They have not only issued you a license to give you permission to drive, but then they're going to come into your lives to extort more money from you by breaking their rule, and the money goes to them each time. You know, the cop pulls you over, cop works for government, prosecutor prosecutes.
The entire point of a ticket is to be like, hey, don't do this again. If you keep getting pulled over, then it means you keep breaking the law. So stop breaking the law. And yes, I recognize there are situations where the cops pull people over for stupid reasons, like the color of their skin. That's not what I'm talking about, and that's not what this guy is talking about. He's talking about literally being pulled over for breaking the law multiple times. If anyone didn't see, I got a new hat for my D&D character. That's what this hat is. The old one didn't fit. This one does. Seshamaru with 50 bits. I see so many dumb local kids acting holier than thou on Facebook because they're bucking against the system for Jan Morgenstern, the libertarian candidate. Same thing happens with Gary Johnson in 2016, and I almost bought into their BS at the time, yeah. Gary Johnson and Jill Stein. Vote for me! It'll be a waste, but I don't know. Do it anyway.
Prosecutor works for government. A judge adjudicates the matter. The judge works for government. Do you see bias and conflict of interest when 3 of the 4 parties, you being the 4th party in this matter, are kind of biased? All work for the government, and the fine that they're going to get from you just happens to also go to that same government? Come on.
Not necessarily. Like, the judge doesn't care. The judge's salary doesn't go up if they charge more people with ticket offenses. Like, that's not how it works. They have no personal incentive to do so.
Come on, people. More coming. Thanks for watching.
Okay. One final part, and then we'll be done with them. I just really want to get this all done in one shot. Too bad the thing cut out earlier. Sometimes when the thing cuts out, I have problems, and I'm not able to put these on YouTube because there's some export issue, so I'm really hoping that isn't the case today, because I'd like to put these all on YouTube and send this guy a link. I'm just going to wear this hat. I look like a jackass, but I'm going to do it anyway.
To continue in this video series, this part of the video is very, very important because it is going to show what kind of information is omitted from these kinds of broadcasts relating to who these sovereign citizens are and how vitally important it is to include what I'm about to include so that there's a fuller picture and fuller understanding of what ends up being a very tragic event.
May the 20th.
I do the highlights. I do highlight on YouTube, but nonetheless, like last time I had like a thing where the stream cut out midstream like that for seemingly no reason. I had Twitch issues, and whenever I tried to highlight, the highlights would come out corrupted, so I don't know why. Don't know why it was happening.
2010 started out like any other day. 2 veterans of our West Memphis, Arkansas Police Department, Bill Evans and Brandon Powdert, were patrolling the interstate as part of the department's drug interdiction team, something they love to do. They became involved in what seemed to be a routine traffic stop, though I've always warned my officers there is no such thing. But really, how much more routine can you get than pulling over a father and son in what looked like a church bus? My men didn't realize who or what they were dealing with.
Oh no! He pulled out a gun.
Made it home. And one of them was my son.
Oh, that sucks.
Now, of course, this is a tragic, horrible situation. But what they're not addressing is why was the father and son pulled over to begin with?
Does it matter?
When government enters our lives,
It matters zero, you absolute monster. I don't
we
care.
have
I do not care if they have no reason to pull you over. Even if the cop is being a complete jackass and pulls you over for no reason, that does not give you the right to get out of your car and murder him. I can't believe I have to say that. Like, dude, come on. Don't go to bat for these monsters.
We have civil court. These relate to injuries, harm, and damages. What was this father and son team that did?
It doesn't matter.
That indicated they were involved in anything harmful.
I'd imagine they were pulled over either for speeding or driving erratically.
Or damaging or creating an injury to someone.
Hey, you know where I can point out an injury here? Where they murdered a guy. That'd be the injury, you dipshit. Like, seriously? You're like, well, they may have murdered someone, but prior to that, they got pulled over, and I don't think you can pull someone over. Like, no, you can. You're wrong. Stop it.
They were not put in handcuffs immediately, so there apparently wasn't any probable cause that would indicate they were involved in anything criminal. Now, I cover in other parts the fraud in traffic tickets relating to how they make it appear as though you're committing crimes, but they take you into a civil court.
Traffic infractions are laws that you break. They're just civil laws. Again, this is going to depend on the state.
That alone is a deception.
It's not a deception. You're not being defrauded. You can be charged with civil offenses. Like, that's how things work.
It deceives people into believing they're involved in some sort of crime. Or
if you don't understand how the law works and you don't understand that traffic court is its own thing, that's not a fraud. That's you being ignorant of how the law works.
Criminal behavior, when really the matter is just civil in nature. What was the father and son doing?
The speaker, apparently one of the victim's fathers in this incident, condolences, stated the pullover was simply routine. Does any routine pullover warrant the deaths of 4 people? Would 4 people be dead if they were simply left alone? Are you serious? Okay, when he says routine, he means like they were speeding or something. That's a routine traffic stop. He doesn't mean random. And like, if those guys like ended up getting stopped by the police and they were killed, like, out of all the use of force of police in the history of it, that would be the most reasonable use of force. You know why? Because they already killed a cop with like an AK-47. Like, they have reason to assume that these guys are gonna shoot them. Jesus Christ. This guy's an asshole.
Now, to my knowledge, if I remember this correctly, I don't remember exactly why they were pulled over, but it looked like it had something maybe to do with the license plate. They certainly weren't harming anyone.
They were! Again, I explained this earlier. There are certain, like, civil infractions that are considered crimes against society as a whole. Like, if you don't have a license up to date, then you're creating a difficult situation for the police to be able to easily look up your information and be able to make sure, okay, this person has a license, this vehicle is registered to such and such person, etc., etc. That is a crime. Again, a crime does not literally mean someone goes up to someone and harms them in some physical way. That's not how crime works. You absolute dunce. I've explained this multiple times, and no matter how many times it's been explained to these people, that corpus delicti just means you need evidence of a crime. It doesn't mean you need a literal victim crying on the ground because they've been harmed. They still don't understand because they don't care about facts. They don't care about being told the truth. They care about their little cult that they're in where they get to believe, I'm the king of the castle, and you
There's
can't
nothing
tell
funny
me
about
what
the
to
tools of
do.
capitalism.
And it's childish, and it's damaging, and it creates absolute idiots like this who go online and make a 40-minute series where they're like, oh, these guys who murdered this guy for absolutely no reason, actually, we should have cut them some slack. No! N-O! No! You are awful. Session Maru with 50 bits. This guy is so stupid that I almost want to advocate for cops. I can't believe this shit. I don't know if I'd go that far, but like, people can be, how do I put this? People other than cops can be wrong.
That I can recall, or else they would have been arrested. They weren't damaging anything.
They didn't get a chance to be arrested. They shot him.
Just going from one place to another. Later on, I believe the father and the son were killed by police officers who went after them after
I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad even a little bit. They murdered a guy. They straight up murdered a guy in cold blood. Why would I feel bad?
after their police officers were killed.
It's too easy to label people, and too easy to forget that they were father and son, and are now dead. Did you friggin' forget they murdered a guy? It's on camera. They murdered him with a gun. They shot him. Oh, they were just a father and son. Okay. And Charles Manson was just a charismatic father to the Manson family. Like, you can't characterize murderers like this and expect people to take you seriously, you absolute jackass.
How much tragedy do we need here? So 4 people approximately died that day? Over what?
Good question. Why did these guys shoot that guy? Probably because they were super in on this crazy conspiratorial sovereign citizen nonsense. This is their fault, not the cops. And I blame the cops for a lot of stuff. We can talk about Breonna Taylor and like George Floyd and all that stuff, and I agree. The cops overstep constantly and get away with murder. That doesn't change the fact that these guys did a murder. They murdered a cop. Of course they're gonna get in trouble. Like, what do you think is gonna happen? You shoot a cop, you're gonna get in a shootout with more cops, probably. It's... Why? Why would you defend these two of all people? There's so many victims of the police that genuinely deserve defending. These guys ain't it, Chief. This is not where you want to stake your claim. This is not the hill you want to die on.
Over an expired license plate or something like that? It certainly didn't look like they were going very fast. I don't think there was speeding involved.
Again, why are you blaming the cop? The cop was doing his job. If he had an expired license plate, the cop has the right to pull them over and say like, hey, you need to get your car tags up to date. They might not have even given him a ticket, maybe given him a warning. This is typical. This is how traffic stops work. You need to have your car registration up to date. And you're blaming the cop in this situation for being shot by a crazy person? Like, F you, man. Really. Like, this is the worst.
Even if there was speeding, which I'm pretty sure there was not, they weren't harming anyone.
What is this? They weren't harming anyone. Okay, that doesn't mean they can't be pulled over for a traffic stop for not having their car registered, and it certainly doesn't give them the right to shoot a guy.
They're driving no kind of a fancy car. They don't look like they're wealthy.
What does that have to do with
business
anything?
going from one place to another. And police officers felt the need to come into their lives and interfere with their lives.
Yes, because they were breaking the law.
Stop breaking the law, asshole! Stop!
For whatever reason. Now, if they were dealing with previous traffic issues, they faced the real possibility that perhaps they were going to go to jail for whatever this new, quote, violation was.
Well, 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 if it isn't the consequences of my own actions, better murder a guy instead of facing them. What is this defense? I hate this guy.
And most people in America prefer to be free as compared to being in jail.
Okay, I'm sure they do. That's why you shouldn't break the law consistently.
So they may have decided they had to fight back with violence to avoid being imprisoned.
Okay, and you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to do that. We have a thing called rule of law in this country, and if you break the law in such a way that's going to put you in prison, then you need to face that justice. If you disagree with the law, you're free to take it to court. You're free to have a lawyer argue that the law is unconstitutional in some way if you think that's an avenue that would benefit you. But at the end of the day, the law is the law, and it applies to everyone. It should apply to everyone equally. It doesn't a lot of the time, which is unfortunate. But nonetheless, that doesn't mean that when it does apply, that's unjust. No. The law applies when it fucking applies. And these guys, if they were being pulled over for a fifth time for some stupid reason, if they had something in their car they shouldn't have had, like those guns, if those guns that they had weren't registered, then yeah, they get more than a ticket. They probably get arrested and they probably get charged with various crimes, and that's on them. You're literally blaming the police for doing their job, and there are so many things to hate the police for. There are so many things to say like, wow, the police have misconduct, the police are trained poorly, the police don't apply laws equally based on race, they try and like over-police certain areas, they negatively impact certain communities. That's all fair. But when they're actually doing their job and you shoot them for that, you're part of the problem. Ugh.
For having done nothing wrong by any reasonable moral standard.
As a society, we have representative government. And the representatives that we have elected have put laws in place, like requiring vehicle registrations, which everyone understands is reasonable. Just because you disagree with the law doesn't mean you're not going to get arrested or ticketed if you break it.
And that is my point.
Let's see what this says. Due process is denied to anyone who fights the procedural flaws in traffic court as a matter of course. I've experienced it myself firsthand several times, as well as manipulated court records and even jail in some instances. Jail without release, even habeas corpus is ignored. No, I don't think anyone you know has been put in jail without ever being released without charges for a traffic violation. In most instances, it is about failing to pay allegedly legitimate fines. There it is. Yeah. You get put in jail sometimes until you pay fines. That's how it works. I like this hat. My D&D character hat. Makes me feel powerful. We must ask, when did debtor's prison in America become lawful? I don't know how to break it to you, bud. Slavery's legal in America as long as you're in prison. Anyway. Like, yeah, if you don't pay your fines, you're going to get put in jail. That's how it works. Makes you want to put taco puke in your mouth.
They were likely in trouble
I understood that
due
reference.
to not following the rule of government. The rule meaning you have to have a certain kind of license plate that you have to pay for, pay your money towards every 2 years, or some other rule that they have in place. And I need to ask, what rule would warrant something that would instigate violence?
They're the ones who instigated violence. They killed a guy. You saw the video.
capitalism.
Sashamaru, nope, not that one. Drakewing, thanks for subscribing. 4-month streak, don't mind me, just traveling. Thanks for the subscription.
In order to perhaps stay out of prison for not having proper stickers on your car or proper tags or license plates on your car, how is that warranted?
If you think that it's unwarranted, then you go to court and you try and argue that. Under no circumstances do you get to start shooting people because you disagree with the law. You just don't.
This is the kind of thing I'm talking about. You have to note how this video did not reference why the father and son were pulled over.
Because it's irrelevant! It's irrelevant! You moron! You monster of a human being! It is 100% irrelevant. I don't care if they got pulled over for a tail light being out, for having a license plate that's out of date, for driving erratically, for having cocaine falling out of their car. I don't care the reason. None of those reasons, if they're going to go to jail for them, justify shooting a guy. Period.
Why? Because if you knew the reason, you would be shocked and appalled.
I would be shocked and appalled at the people who got pulled over, not the police. What warped worldview do you have where you think, well, he pulled him over for having expired tags? Well, of course he shot him then. No! No reasonable person thinks that, you idiot. What is wrong with you?
At the fact that 4 lives were lost that day.
And it's their fault. Dislike, you absolute ass.
Because of an improper license plate? Or something of this nature? What are they omitting?
You're defending a murderer, you absolute jackass. That's my comment.
And how are they trying to make you feel when they discuss what I believe could be considered a propaganda or an agenda?
Yeah, this video is almost
Use
done.
your common sense. Think. What reason is there to have 4 people dying?
Because they murdered a guy. Because they murdered a guy. That's why. That's the answer.
Over some kind of traffic law where nobody is getting hurt and nobody is getting injured.
How about you ask, why was it worth murdering a guy over a traffic law? Link to the vid? Sure. This is part 4. Here's a link. Copy. Paste. It's in the chat if you want it. If you want to go downvote the video or whatever.
Repeat that question to yourself. Find a reasonable...
I would ask you, again, what traffic pullover could they have been pulled over for that would have justified murdering a cop? Murdering a person. It doesn't even matter that he's a cop. Murdering a person. What traffic violation is worth... What traffic ticket is worth murdering someone to try and get out of? Just asking for a friend.
logical answer.
I'm Bob Powder, Chief of the West Memphis Police Department. My officers, Bill and my son Brandon, didn't realize that there are people at war with this country that are not international terrorists. They are seemingly ordinary people, just like you and me, but they don't recognize the federal government's authority.
Doesn't downvoting still count as interaction, which helps promote the vid in the algorithm? Yes, but as a content creator, I will tell you it also hurts your feelings, and I want you to hurt his feelings.
To impose laws or
I'm joking, but, like, seriously, it shows disapproval. It shows, like, come on, man, don't do this stuff. And honestly, if this got more attention in the algorithm, more people are just going to tell him what a jerk he is, so...
taxes on them. They're known as sovereign citizens. Their beliefs may sound so out there that they appear comical or crazy, but don't discount or ignore these people, because they're willing to kill and be killed for these beliefs. We as law enforcement officers need to recognize this very real threat so we can protect ourselves. And maybe if Brandon and Bill had been able to recognize the warning signs of sovereign beliefs, they'd be alive today.
Indicators from an
Yes, some of the quote sovereign type people are lunatics.
Like you, who's defending murderers.
But you have to understand where their perspective is, why they act the way they do. And you can't ignore the other 80% of people who associate in this movement who don't have any ill intentions at all. They don't want to hurt anyone. They just want government to stay out of their lives and leave them be. Such as the case, you can relate it back to what happened with that incident on the highway there.
No, you're literally saying, I mean, you should get to know us peaceful ones, but even if we're not, you should probably just leave us alone in case this happens again. You're literally implicitly threatening the police and saying, if you pull me over, well, I'll probably be peaceful, but wink, wink. Maybe I won't be. What a monster.
There, with the officers and the father and the son. They just want to be left alone. What too often happens, and why I got involved with this movement, so to speak, 15 years ago, was because government came into my life. And once I realized the fraud that was being perpetuated in courtrooms and how the judges and
the fraud here is the sovereign citizen movement. Please get out of this cult.
Prosecutors and the cops refused to follow their own laws, and most importantly, denied me due process, which is so easy to prove. Anyone can experience this for themselves so easily through just a simple traffic ticket. They can discover how there is denial of due process in the courtroom,
not being denied
whereby
due process.
The judge will do whatever he pleases to you and have full immunity, full discretion to do as he pleases with zero liability.
That's untrue. Judges can be found to, like, misrepresent the law. You can have, if you think that something's been miscarried in terms of justice for your case, you can appeal. That's what appeals are for, friend. Like, saying that judges have absolutely no, like, there's no recourse for you if the judge does something wrong in your case, it's just an outright lie.
No consequences whatsoever. That is something I...
Judges who have misconduct can and have been removed from the bench before.
Believe most Americans would...
Like, remember that guy? I think there was a judge some years back that said something along the lines of, it was in a assault case of a woman, and he said, like, why didn't you hold your legs shut? That judge got disbarred, right? I don't know if anyone knew that, but good news, he got disbarred. Like, if you have misconduct and you're a judge, you could be removed. Like, it happens regularly.
Would disagree with. That is what so many of these people are fighting against. Is that domestic terrorism? When you simply insist that your own government stop denying you due process.
That's not what you're doing. Stop misrepresenting what sovereign citizens are doing.
Stop committing frauds. Why?
In retort,
Stop breaking the law, asshole!
Will they never answer any of the simple questions posed to them about the nature of the process of traffic tickets?
such is a very simple starter question posed here to all cops, prosecutors, and especially judges, which they never, ever, of course, answer. Why are you bringing a traffic ticket matter into a criminal proceeding, forcing me into a guilty or not guilty plea? A lawyer could answer this more comprehensively, but that's because even though it's a civil infraction, traffic court is kind of its own thing. Like, it's its own thing. That's why there are specific traffic courts in many cases. Like, again, if you actually asked a lawyer this, especially someone who deals with traffic law, They could probably give you an answer, but I'm guessing you've never asked an actual lawyer this question, and you're just mad. Like, ask an actual question, and they'll explain it to you. I'm sure they would, but here's the key, and this is something sovereign citizens do all the time. They'll ask a question, and then when the judge or lawyer tries to start explaining, they'll talk over them, and they'll ask the question again and again and again while the person is trying to give them an answer. Here's the key to asking a question. You ask the question, and then you zip your lip. And you just use the 2 holes in the side of your head to listen to the answer instead of running the one big hole in the front of your face. Okay. You've done like 58 hours on this content. I did a rough estimate on that playlist. Oh, on Sovereign Citizens? Oh, that's pretty good. It's not fraud, you absolute moron. In fairness, in the Sovereign Citizen playlist, I both have highlights and the full streams, and the highlights are just taken from the full streams, so there's some doubling up there, but yeah, I may have done like 20 hours or something on Sovereign Citizens, I don't know.
Starting point, because we all travel, and most of us get traffic tickets at some point in our lives, so we have to deal with it. If you want to see the corruption and experience it firsthand, fight a traffic ticket, but first learn how the process works, how the law works, what the law is about.
How about you do that? Because you said you've been studying the law for 10 years. I hate when they say this, by the way. Like, it would be like if and again, we just talked about it, I've done like 20-something hours of Sovereign Citizen coverage. Imagine if I was a jackass, more of a jackass than just wearing this hat. But imagine if I was a jackass and I was like, I've spent hours and hours studying the law. No, that's not what this is. I've Googled some crap sometimes to try and gain a better understanding from a layman perspective, but that's not studying law. Studying law involves going to law school, right? I'm not a lawyer. This guy's not a lawyer. We've not studied law. We're just jackasses on the internet. Ugh.
What due process is. And once you challenge courts with these traffic tickets where the fraud is so easy to prove and you find they refuse to answer.
He doesn't even know the definition of fraud and he thinks he's smarter than lawyers. It's kind of crazy.
To your questions and will side against you every time, you will know there is a problem in this country and a severe one. Thank you so much for watching. More videos to come in this series.
What a jerk. Dude Spanking Dude says, I might go dark. I'm fine, but I may need to take a break from Twitch, Twitter, Discord, etc. I'm not sure. Do you want me to DM you to when and will affect my status as mod? I mean, I'll keep you on as mod, you know, if you can pop in sometime in the future. But if not, I understand. That's okay. I hope you're doing okay, whatever the reason might be for that. That's alright. What else? So that's enough of this guy. This guy's channel's name is Join the Progress. So we're going to save him for future Sovereign Citizen stuff. Let's do this one. This is like a 9-minute Moorish citizen thing. We've talked about Moorish citizens before. Moorish citizens believe a variety of things. Again, like sovereign citizens, they have sort of a little bit of splittage in what different groups believe. But many Moorish citizens believe that because they are African American, that they do not have to obey the laws of the United States because they're not technically American citizens. They are what they call Moorish citizens. Some of them also believe extreme things, like believing that the United States is secretly Morocco. I know that sounds wild, but that's a belief some of them have. All kinds of crazy stuff. It's a lot of crossover. In the Venn diagram between Moorish citizens and sovereign citizens, it's like there's a great bit of overlap. Pier Squire. I actually have studied law to prepare for law school, wasn't able to make it in, but I have sat in with district attorney cases, which was cool. Oh, that's nice. That's neat. Like, geographically, like, they think that America was where is Morocco. Like, they think that the nation of Morocco was secretly America the whole time. That's what they think. And they think that chattel slavery, and the reason that, you know, of course, there's such a large population of dark-skinned individuals in the United States, we of course know that's because of chattel slavery and of course immigration, but a lot of it's because of chattel slavery. They say, no, chattel slavery is a fraud. What actually happened is the United States is Morocco, and black people are the actual indigenous people of the United States, and it used to be called Morocco, and then white people got in charge and made a lie, and they lied about chattel slavery. Like, it's wild. It's wild what some of these people believe. Anyway. I know I'm not explaining it very well, but it's not a well thought out belief system either. Like, the idea that America was secretly Morocco, like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And the reason they believe that is because the first treaty the United States signed with another nation was with Morocco, and it was over sea trade stuff. Basically, it was a way, because, you know, they were still doing, you know, triangular slave trade stuff at the time. Morocco is a West African nation, and so they made a treaty with America to deal with piracy and trade route stuff together. And instead of recognizing that that's what this is, it's just a treaty between Morocco and the United States, because they're mutually beneficial goals to keep the trade routes between Morocco and the United States clear of pirates and stuff. They go like, no, this means that Morocco was secretly where the United States is the whole time. It's very, very ridiculous. Where do they think Native Americans are from? That's a good question. I haven't come across that yet. I'm actually not sure. I'm not as familiar with Moorish citizens as I am sovereign citizens.
I'm also with Pittsburgh Police. My name is Stops being audio and visual recorded, alright?
What you put me on for? You're being recorded too.
Okay, this stops being audio and visual recorded.
Yeah.
You didn't come to a complete stop sign back there.
Where?
On Ridgeway Street. The only one on Ridgeway.
Did I hurt someone?
What's that?
Did I hurt someone?
Did you hurt someone?
Yeah.
No, but it's a traffic violation.
Again, this is the whole corpus delicti thing, where they think that a crime can't be a crime unless there is literally a little old lady that you pushed over and you physically hurt them. This is not what corpus delicti means.
Sir?
The corpus delicti in this particular case would be the cop saw him commit the crime. Corpus delicti basically just means you need a reason to charge someone with a crime. You need evidence and a reason to believe they did it. So the corpus delicti in this case is the cop saw him do it, and he may even have it on his camera. That's part of the corpus delicti.
I didn't hurt anyone though.
Okay.
You guys supposed to respond to emergencies.
No, we're not. It's a traffic
As a public servant, yeah.
Enforce the law, sir. Do you
What
have a
law?
license or registration on you?
I'm not subjected to that law. I'm a Moorish American.
Do you have a license or registration on you?
Okay, quiet.
Hold on.
Okay, quiet.
No, I'm not. Trust me, I know. Hold on. There you go. I don't want to say nothing else. My attorney gave me that.
Okay. Ma'am, do you have any ID on you?
His attorney. I feel like his attorney is just a buddy of his who claims to be a lawyer, and he's not. If there's a lawyer out there who would give you a bunch of, like, sovereign citizen paperwork to hand to a cop, they should be disbarred immediately.
She had nothing to do with this one.
Okay. Just letting you guys know you're under an official investigation.
Alright. Can I have your name, sir? What's your name?
Can you put your window down, please?
Can I have your name, sir? Can I have your name? I don't know why you're acting suspicious. Why you're not giving up your name? I mean, as a public servant.
Alright.
Do you have your ID on you?
You're dealing with me, sir. I don't know. Can I have your name? Can I have your name, sir?
Yeah, Scott.
What? Badge number? 4441. Jeez, did I kill anyone? I had too many traffic stops. That's why that was given to me. I'm tired of dealing with this. No.
Wait, what was it? Did they have a warrant
Too
for
many
him or
traffic.
something?
Yeah, man. Well, yeah, you're right. I don't understand. Yeah, that was given to me by one of my.
What was given?
Jeez, did I kill anyone? I don't understand. I have somewhere to be, man. Well, yeah, you're right. I don't understand. Yeah, that was given to me by one of my. I had too many traffic stops. That's why that was given to me. I'm tired of dealing with this.
Oh, he's saying that the paperwork he has that was given to him by a lawyer was because he kept getting traffic stops. Why is it that the sovereign citizens seem to get stopped so much? Like, even if they have valid licenses and register, it seems like they just break traffic laws constantly, and then they're like, why do I keep getting pulled over? Well, that'd be because you keep breaking the law. Pretty simple. Although I understand in the case of Moorish Americans, there are other reasons they're probably getting pulled over too. Hint! It's the pigment of their skin, because cops are awful sometimes. Devious Chillster with 25 bits. I think the weirdest thing about sovereign citizens is the weird fact that they believe that none of the laws that punish them affect them, but all laws that protect citizens still protect them somehow. Like, are you a citizen of America or not? How flexible is your LaCroix brain? Oh, Baja's gonna be mad. I mispronounced that. LaCroix. Yeah. There are, I've seen videos where sovereign citizens, there's one in particular where it's a woman, and the cop's like, what does that mean, you're a sovereign citizen? Like, the laws apply to you. And she's like, no, they don't. I have all the rights of a citizen and none of the responsibilities. And she almost sounds like smug saying it, like she's a child that's figured out some loophole. It's kind of hilarious. Le Croix. Did I pronounce it right that time?
I'm tired of this, man. I keep getting pulled over, yo. Just got pulled over.
So I'm gonna ask you one more time. Do you have any ID on you?
Why are you asking me for identification? You haven't got me ID yet either.
Can you do me a favor?
I'm not stepping out the car. I'm going to remain silent, okay? You're being recorded.
You're being recorded also, alright?
Alright, but you're a public servant, correct? Are you a public servant? Are you upholding oath of the Constitution? I'll come in peace, just to let you know.
I've literally been, again, I've been pulled over once in my entire life, and it was stupid. It was like my birthday, and I was excited to get home because I got like a new phone for my birthday, and I wanted to play with it, you know. So I was driving, and I was speeding. I was going like 70 or something in like a 60 out in the country, and I shouldn't have been doing it. Speeding is not a cool thing to do, regardless of where you are. But nonetheless, I got pulled over, and I just, like, the officer was like, do you know why I pulled you over? And I was like, yeah, I sped. I'm sorry, officer. I was, like, on my way home. I was in a hurry. I wasn't thinking. Like, just, I don't know. I'm not going to pretend like cops are reasonable, and I understand that, but, like, it helps if you're trying to, like, not antagonize. The same reason, like, I wouldn't antagonize a dog that's, like, snarling at me. You know what I mean? Like, sure, it might still be on the dog for biting me, but I'm not gonna press my luck, right? Xandra says, I've been pulled over a couple of times, one for speeding, several times because my front license plate was in my window instead of on the front of my car. It had no plate mount, yeah.
No, I have no intentions to do anything, alright? Can I have your name, sir, as well? 4568. Did you take oath to the Constitution, sir? Yes or no? Because you gotta take oath to the Constitution. All right. I just hope that you uphold it today. That's all. Yeah, I know. I'm a Moorish American. I had no idea. He said I didn't stop at the stop sign. But that goes to show him that he was following me.
He was coming from this way?
He said back there. I don't know.
Where you was coming
I'm not familiar with law he's talking about. He said I didn't stop at the stop sign.
Stop.
But I need to know. I'm just documenting this for my safety, okay?
It's okay.
This is for my safety.
Okay.
All right.
Chill out. Nobody's coming at you. You're getting mad, and you're not. It's okay. Nobody's killing you right now. It's okay, man.
I have somewhere to be, man. I really do.
Okay.
I really
cool.
do.
You're fine.
And I'm hindering my right to travel right now. I'm being like violated right now.
Okay.
I'm not. I have somewhere to be, you know.
All right.
Can I have your name, sir?
It's on my chest.
Marcus.
If you want to zoom in on your camera and take it, you're more than welcome to do
Okay.
so.
This is just for my safety. That's all.
You don't have any type of ID or anything on you?
I identify myself.
Okay, but you don't have any type of an identification to properly, so we can properly identify you?
I don't understand why. That's private information.
No, it's not. It's been found in the courts many times. The cops can, in a traffic stop, in the course of an investigation, and that's what a traffic stop is, they can ask for your license, and you need to provide it. It definitely isn't private, too. Your driver's license is state property. It's not even really your property.
I just have somewhere to be, man.
What's that?
I have somewhere to be.
You have somewhere to be? Well, right now you're being detained, okay? On a traffic stop.
What is the
So you're
problem?
not free to leave until we tell you to
I'm
do
not,
so, okay?
I'm not engaging in any.
I'm sorry?
I'm not engaging in any traffic right
Okay.
now.
Well, as of right now, you're being detained
Bell,
right now,
thanks
so
for
you're
coming
not
to the
free to leave until
stream.
we tell you to do so, okay?
Detained. So my rights are being hindered to travel. I'm being detained. No one's being hurt right now. I didn't cause any injury.
That's not the standard. That's not what corpus delicti means.
Didn't violate anyone's rights. I'm being detained without probable cause. Hey, you want to call the sheriff for me? Let me see a phone. Can I see a phone?
Call the police! I'm being stopped by the police! I recognize that the sheriff is different than the county police department, but, like, they're still both law enforcement, and if you call the sheriff and say, like, the police have stopped me, what do you think they're gonna do?
Well,
Stay here longer.
no, I don't. I just
Alright.
want to get a sheriff to supervise here.
Chill out.
You'll contact all that history.
Copy 132, code 4 Blue, 1905.
This is your vehicle, right? Okay.
It's my
so it's
private.
registered to you,
It's
right?
it's my private property.
So whenever you signed your registration card, it states right on there that you have to abide by the laws of Pennsylvania when you drive on our roadways, right?
I'm indigenous here. This
sorry?
I'm indigenous. This is
Okay,
my.
but you
This is
signed
my.
your
This,
registration now, right?
this-
You were given a registration card, so that means that you have to abide by our rules here in Pennsylvania when you drive on our roadways.
This is
okay.
All right.
So
I'm not subjected
so
to those.
driving on the roadways here in Pennsylvania
I'm not
is
driving.
a privilege.
I'm not driving.
What's that?
I'm not driving. I'm
What-
traveling.
What are you doing?
I'm traveling.
You're traveling.
He said the thing! He said it. Hold on, let me get some of my traveling emotes. Traveling. Oops, I accidentally did the trans rights one too. I guess we get all of them.
Because I'm going somewhere. I travel all around the world.
You're in operation of the car, right? So you put the key in the ignition and you turn the wheel and push the gas pedal, so you're driving, right? Okay.
At 2949 North Charles Street on Shelton, Kansas Way. Call taker
I'm an indigenous Moorish American national of
that's
this
fine.
land.
However you want to handle yourself.
So he's one of the ones that thinks that black people are indigenous to America.
That's fine.
I'm under constitutional form of government. There's an unmarked vehicle here.
Do you have an address? Do you live anywhere?
I live in my temple.
What's that?
I live in my body.
Oh, okay.
I'm a spiritual being.
Oh no, he's wearing an ankh too. I mean, if you're gonna wear an ankh, that's not the worst one I've ever seen, I guess.
Painting you right now.
Operating outside official capacity. I need to call a sheriff. Seriously. Been held up for about 13 minutes now. 7 vehicles behind me.
And I guess that's like the end of the video. Guess we don't get to see what happens. That's a shame. I imagine he gets a ticket, would be my guess. And if he has prior traffic tickets he hasn't paid, he might get arrested. More citizen tries to citizen arrest judge. Oh, this probably goes poorly.
Nation, or if you knew Hill.
Oh, shut up. That's the one thing I hate about doing the sovereign citizen stuff. Boy, do a lot of the sovereign citizen channels that post videos have like super cringe aesthetics and like they're super pro cop. Like to the point that like cops can do no wrong. Like guys, it's a more nuanced issue than that. Like I get it, sovereign citizens are dicks, but that doesn't mean cops are always right.
Maybe we gotta treat people the way we feel like we should be treated.
Something like that. Yeah, that's right. That's right. All right, have a good one. You too.
This guy is not.
Oh, shut up. Oh no!
Where did she go? You in here?
Is there just a link to the original video? That'd be great. No? Cool. Gotta deal with the annoying editing. Let me see. More citizen's arrest. Let me see if I can find this without the obnoxious editing. It's this one. Source. Video source. Facebook. Okay. Don't have a direct link to the video, really? That sucks. Ugh. Frustrating. Alright, we're not going to watch that then, because I'm not going to watch the annoying editing. Anyway, I think that's it. We've been going for 3.5 hours almost. Is Jake streaming? I don't see him. Sometimes
That's right, capitalistic propaganda.
Thank you, Astradaria, for following. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, that's gonna be it for today. What's Live Posting doing? We might raid Live Posting. So I hope everyone has a good
to have
night.
My moderator Kit next to me.
My bestie, the OG mod, Introvert Nits.
We're celebrating mods. They are the unsung heroes of Twitch.
Mods, you are the unsung heroes of Twitch, but I'm not gonna be in a beer ad for you. Actually, that's not true. If they want to pay me, please pay me. I'll be in whatever ad. I'll shill your paper towels or your gamer fuel drink or whatever. Please, give me a call, sponsors.
Racism structural. Sorry to bring in the critical race theory, by the way. I know if you're watching...
Yeah, sure. Let's raid live posting. Oops. Back. Alright, so thanks, everyone. Have a good night. I hope your evening is wonderful. I'll see you guys. I think I'm going to do a stream tomorrow. I would normally take Sunday off, but I took all last weekend off, so I think I'm going to stream. I don't know what I'm going to do. But you'll see when the title comes up. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night, everyone.